This is the Refuge Project.
Welcome to the Refuge Project. The Refuge Project is a place we have meaningful conversations.
Man, you keep forgetting where the Refuge Project is.
And a safe place. It's safe. I do know it's safe.
Yeah.
It's a safe.
Yeah, we're safe.
We're safe. But we have great conversation.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we
been
do.
on vacation, man. Come on.
Yeah, you have.
So I think Stacie and I both been on vacation. So speaking of that, got a special guest here.
Look who it is.
Long awaiting Stacie Nissan.
In the flesh, in all my glory.
That's right.
This has been one that people have been asking for.
Yeah, they have. It's a big deal.
You gotta give the public what they want.
You gotta give the people what they want.
They've been asking.
If there's one thing my dad taught me, it was give the people what they want.
Yeah, so this is gonna be a good one, man. There's like this conversation could go like so many directions.
It really could.
So, and we don't have anything planned. I asked him if there's anything he didn't want to talk about. He says that he'll just take the fifth at that point.
Yeah, I've got a buzzer here. I'll just.
But yeah, so how's things been going?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I am. Let's see. I feel like some good stuff's happened.
Yeah.
It's been weeks. I know you've been cruising.
I've been cruising. Been in the Mexico, and so he's in Mexico. Got this little story. You know, when you get off the cruise, the cruise line has the shops right there for you, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so Bobby wanted to go see this silver shop in Cancun. So we took a taxi into town, kind of away from the real touristy stuff. So, you know, when you go out there and then you have the little kids, chicle, you know, trying to sell you the gum and stuff.
How they do it?
And there's another little boy that he was, you know, hustling paper roses, you know. So
roses.
Yeah, so he's going up and trying to give them to all the girls and or the ladies or whatever. Well, if you take it, you know, you're obligated now to give him some money, right? And he's smooth the way he does. But he was only like 6 or 7. Yeah. And he was down in this little area. And I felt sorry for him, really, because, like, he was like a little kid with all these grown people. Anyways, Bobby got suckered. Out of, you know, reaction, Bobby just took it from him. And then he looked at, I seen it, he kind of like, man, this little kid just got me. So he's over there trying to dig through his wallet without everybody seeing how much money he had, and just gave the kid a couple bucks. So, well, I didn't realize it, but as we're walking through this little kid's following us.
Oh, yeah.
Now he knows
he's got money. I can get money out of him.
Americans that have some money, and we're walking through and, you know, walk through this farm and past this pharmacy, and then these dudes come out from nowhere. You know, they're just like, hey, you need like muscle rub, you know, ibuprofen, Tylenol, and then it goes Percocet, Vicodin, Oxycontin. I'm just like, good Lord.
Yeah, it's a thing now.
Oh yeah, $1 a piece. Anything you want. I'm just like, okay, let's just keep walking, right?
Yeah, I have a friend who just went on a cruise down. I think he was in Cozumel when he was doing that, and it was just like Viagra, just everything.
Yeah.
They're like $1 a pill, and he goes,
I would have stopped for that.
he was like, yeah, anything you want, they're just selling it. It's like a Mexican knockoff of it, and it's for real cheap. And I said, that
you
just
get cancer
seems
2 days later.
that seems a little sketchy to me to just take some off-brand Tylenol.
Don't go to Jamaica, whatever you do.
Oh, I heard
yeah.
Jamaica's
worse than Mexico.
Yeah. So we kind of walking. It's hot outside. So at the end of the block, there's this like a little outdoor restaurant or whatever. So we get some fruit and a drink. Well, the little Mexican boy's just sitting on the bench. And it's like outdoor. So he's just sitting there with his arm crossed, just staring at us as we're eating, you know, and just like, oh, this dude's working it, you know. And I feel sorry for him because he probably is hungry, you know. Yeah. But on the table of the restaurant, it says, don't feed the birds or give our kids money because they're being human trafficked and they deserve better and all this stuff.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
And I was just like, okay, but he looked so hungry. I wanted to give him all the money I had. But Sandra was just like, they're just going to take it from him, you know. And so I'm eating this fruit. And I get to this one fruit. And I'm just like, oh, this fruit is bad. Like, don't eat that fruit. It's terrible. And Sandra's like, no, that's the way it's supposed to taste. I said, nothing is supposed to taste like that. Not fruit, you know? That's like
Fruit's sweet and delicious.
Yeah, that's God's candy, you know? And so Lynn ends up giving the little boy a piece of watermelon, you know, and he's over there just like savoring it, just eating little bites and sucking and licking on it and stuff. And I said, what is this nasty stuff? She said, papaya. And I was just like, whatever it is. So the little boy finishes his watermelon, and I told Sandra, everybody had the papaya just left on the table, and I said, tell him if he wants papaya. And she told him in Spanish, you want the papaya? He was like, nope, and ran off. I was just like, it's so bad, the little starving little kid won't even eat
That's
it.
right.
You know? But yeah, it was kind of just one of those things that you're thankful for what you have after you see some little kid over there trying to hustle up a few pennies, you know. So, anyways.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Other than that, it was a great time. We had a really good time.
Dude, that's how all the cruise ship destinations are. They're all just like that. It's just poor people there being like, please, give me some money. And you're just like walking around.
Or sell you some Percocets.
Yeah, selling you some. Yeah,
I was talking to the silver guy, the where Bobby went, and they offered him. He's like the oldest silver manufacturer in Mexico. It was like 100. Their company was like 100 years old, and they mine it and then do all the stuff.
Yeah.
And they come to him to try to get him a shop down there closer to where they dock. And he said that they wanted $350 a boat to have a shop down there. And he says sometimes they bring in 7-8 boats a day. So those boat lines are killing it.
Yeah, somebody's killing it in those sections.
And I'm just wondering, like, how do they even make money if you're paying, $1,500 a day?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess they are. I guess people are spending the money.
Yeah.
I like money too much to just spend it on random. What do you the big Mexican hats and stuff?
Yeah.
Everybody have a
sombrero.
A sombrero or one of those carpets they throw over you. They cut a hole in it.
You said the carpet they throw? A poncho?
Yeah, a poncho.
The carpets they
That's
throw.
the one we put in front of the toilet. What do you mean?
Well, I've been having a good time while you've been cruising along with the needy. We've been. I had a couple shows I think in the last that went really good.
Yeah.
Had my dad babysit so my sister could come and
I thought he was
help
one of
me
your
out.
roadies or something.
Yeah, no, that'd be nice. Get me a roadie.
Yeah.
No, so I hit up this. So last month we had a couple shows. One of them was at this place called Last Concert Cafe, and it was probably the best show we had. It was it's like a professional place. Actual touring acts will go there, so everything was like professional and the sound was good and all that kind of stuff. And so we had that one. It was probably the best show we had. And then a couple weeks later, we were at this other place called White Swan.
Okay.
Which
Don't they deliver meat or something?
Dude, the worst place ever. It was probably the worst show we've ever had. Not necessarily because of anything we did. It was just the venue was so horrible. The sound was so horrible. Have I told you about this show yet?
No.
I mentioned it to Caesar. So Caesar, I think Ben said something about, we played at White Swan the other night. It was horrible. And Caesar goes, White Swan?
I think I went there. Is it downtown?
Yeah, it's off of Navigation. It's
Yeah,
this horrible
I've been there.
Dude, it's the worst. Caesar goes, I played there like 10 times back in the day. Always the worst. The worst. And I said, yeah.
It was in a crappy building and everything, right?
Yeah, we didn't think it was going to be nice, but man, it was bad, dude. And it was like, the reason it was horrible is because the people that were running it were just like incompetent and didn't care. It wasn't like they were doing a horrible job, but they were trying their best and they just didn't know. It was like they didn't care. They didn't care at all. And everything was horrible because of it. And the people we played with had tried, when they were booking the place, they said, hey, can we bring our own audio engineer for the night? And the venue, which is a reasonable thing people do all the time. And the place said, no, you book a show here, you got to use our guy. Which is annoying, but whatever. Okay.
Our guy that's hooked on meth.
But yes, this is why it's annoying. We show up. The dude's like 80-something years old. He's crazy. He shows up with the beer, and he's like, ugh. And he's crazy. You can't have a conversation with him. And that's the sound guy for the night. And at some point, he's asking me something. I'm trying to answer his question. And he goes, hold on. I can't hear. I'm deaf. You got to get closer. And I said, I'm sorry.
Hey, y'all know that's what it's like when y'all ask me to run sound?
You say I'm deaf? Sorry.
Yes, I can't. My ears are blown out. And y'all are like, hey, man, can you take care of the sound? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I know what the buttons do, but that doesn't mean I can
But this
hear.
guy didn't even know that. And anyway, I won't ramble about that night, but it was the worst show ever. And so we get out of that night, and I was like, dude, we can't be playing at these horrible places anymore because they do more harm than good. It's like like I went and I had some people that were coming to the show. I had a handful of people that were going to come, right? And a few of them bailed last minute. Were texting me like a couple hours before the show. And they were like, hey, I thought I was going to be able to make it. I'm not going to be able to make it. And I said, hey, don't even worry about it, dude. It's probably for the best. Like, I was considering sending out a mass message being like, hey, if you were planning on coming to the show tonight, don't come. And a few people that did show up, like, I had to go apologize and be like, hey, sorry you guys came down here for this because it was so bad.
Wow.
But so we have that one. I'm like, we can't keep playing these places. So I started hitting up, like, the legit venues, like House of Blues and White Oak and all of them. Because I had hit them up before where I would just go try to find, like, a smaller show there that didn't have an opening act listed, and then just if you could find any kind of email for them, hit them up, be like, hey, I'm James from this Houston band. If you need an opener, we can do it. And I had done that in the past, like during COVID time, before COVID happened, but then COVID happened, and then I kind of stopped doing that for a while. Anyway, so I haven't done it in a while, and I was like, I need to do that again because we can't keep playing at these horrible places. I was like, because we just played at a legit place a couple weeks before that, and everything, it was the best. So we can do that.
Right.
So I hit up this dude a few weeks ago for an opening act upstairs at White Oak Music Hall, and the guy, I didn't hear anything back. And then on like Monday night, I get an email from that band's manager, and he's like, hey, can you still play the show on Thursday? So this is like 2.5 days before the show now, which I'm definitely booked to work, and Ben's supposed to work and all this stuff. But I said, yeah, we could definitely do that.
So you did the responsible thing and like called into work, you wouldn't play.
Well, I got my shift covered. Worst case scenario, I could have called in, and it wouldn't have been the end of the world.
Right.
Ben had a little tougher time because his is a little tougher to. But anyway, so we made it happen, but it was all last minute, so I had to have. So usually Tara will help me with like the merch table, or Ben's fiance, Haley.
Fiance.
She gets sick, so she can't come. Tara's working till like 8 o'clock, and that's when we go on stage. So she's not going to make it. And I was like, well, great. I need somebody. So I called Ray. I said, any chance you can like last minute come help me with this? So she calls my dad or my mom. I don't know which.
That was probably the tougher one to get a mama of
yeah.
2, 3. How much she have kids? How's she?
Dude, she's got so many kids these days. I can't keep up. She's got 3.
3.
But
Shout out to Rayanne. She's one of our biggest
So they
fans.
did some, shout out Rayanne. Where's my, Rayanne.
Oh, she gets the DJ horn.
So he babysat so she could come so that we could do the thing.
Shout out to the grandpas out there.
Tell you
man.
I
what.
didn't actually babysit. I just had to go to
You just locked him up in
basketball
a room.
practice and
There you
take
go.
Luke home from basketball.
Either way,
Basketball.
we got the kids taken care of, so she could come.
So these shows,
and this one went really good. Yeah.
So you're integrating the new things that you had been talking about with.
Yeah. So this was the second or third show where we
Okay.
had like the new setup.
So how's that working?
Went really good.
Very good.
Shows, there's a few parts that's a little clunky in between songs where Ben's like switching to the bass or something. So I gotta figure out how to streamline that a little better. But anyway,
Very cool.
Going really good. Went really good. Made some cool connections.
You got any
Sold some hoodies.
some dates?
So there's a new show that we're just putting on ourselves.
Okay.
Which I'm still finishing up the details, working on a flyer.
Yeah.
But the date is going to be September 23rd. It's a Saturday, a few weeks from now, whenever this comes out. September 23rd.
23rd.
It's going to be awesome.
Very cool.
I'm
Where's
very
that
excited
at?
about this
You know
one.
where it's at the venues?
It's going to be at this place called the Coffee House at West End,
Okay.
which is a swanky hipster coffee
Sounds
house.
like a $10 coffee to me.
It is, which is part of this church, which I think the church is called West End Church or something like that. It's down in Houston, but they have, it's a coffee place, but it's like a big kind of industrial room. It's even got an upstairs. We did a little open mic thing there before, and they have events here and there at that place. So anyway, they're really cool. It's a really hip place. The sound was good the time we did it, so we're just gonna put on a thing there. I've got a band or so that's gonna play with us.
Cool.
So I'm gonna announce all the details when we finish them up, but
Very cool.
pretty excited about that one. It's gonna be good.
Good times.
Yeah.
Good times.
So we've been killing it. You've been cruising.
Been cruising.
My dad's been hanging out in the mountains.
Must be nice.
Getting harder to come back each time.
All right, well, I guess that's a good intro. Let's jump right into Culture Corner. With that beat right there, maybe I should come and bust some flows on,
Oh yeah, Dad, go ahead. Hit us.
on some September
rhyme.
23. Can you rhyme, Stacie?
I'll pass on that one.
He's
He said in the first question, he's already passing.
asked. Jeez. All right, well, here's my story. You ready?
Oh, this does not look good at all.
This is good, dude.
Oh, no.
Let me put it on the screen here. Hold on. Transition. Boom. A live worm was removed from Australian woman's brain in world first discovery. I'll just let that set in. Can look
This
at
is
this worm.
not going to go well, is it?
No, it's not good. Experts believe the woman became an accidental host to the parasite when she was foraging for greens near a lake by her home.
Why they have to do it in parentheses? Like she didn't do it on purpose.
Accidental host.
Like she was just like, okay, let me just stick this in my brain.
So here's the story.
Oh my gosh.
I won't read the whole thing, but this is the gist of it. So this Australian lady, a couple years ago, starts experiencing all this stuff: the stomach pain, coughing, night sweats, cognitive conditions. Yeah. She starts having these symptoms. She goes to the doctor, and they don't really find anything, basically. And she keeps having these symptoms. And see, at first she experienced abdominal pain, diarrhea, constant dry cough, a fever, night sweats.
It seems like every medicine they have on, they advertise on TV.
She just should have taken some Pepto-Bismol and been done. Lady's 64 years old, Australian. So she has this stuff, and eventually she goes back like a year later because
This
she's
thing's
still
been like swimming around in her brain for
dude, it's been
year?
going on, and so they can't figure it out. But now her symptoms have evolved to include forgetfulness and depression. So now she's having like mental issues now instead of just coughing and stuff. And eventually she goes and gets an MRI. And how do they say it here? See, infectious disease. They see something in her brain. So she eventually goes to have surgery because they see something's in her brain and they think it's like a growth or something. And so the brain doctor goes in there, got her opened up.
No. Look
And
what it says right
finds a worm.
there. It says it was happily moving.
Yeah. So it says the operation had only just started when she felt something odd in the part of the brain that showed up strangely in the scans. I thought, gosh, that feels funny. You couldn't see anything more abnormal. And then I was able to really feel something, and I took my tweezers and pulled it out and thought, gosh, what's that? It's moving.
Do you know how many
Never
clicks?
good when the brain surgeon
Says, what's that? It's moving.
Do you know how many clicks this would get on YouTube from all the pimple poppers?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah, they love that
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
But so anyway, she pulls it out. It's a worm. It said it was 3 inches.
What?
Look, here's a picture of it.
No way. Come on.
Yeah. So there's the worm. And
How did it get in there?
well, that you got to finish the story.
Well, hurry up. I want to know.
So the brain doctor, so they look up some textbooks and trying to figure out what this worm is. They can't figure it out. So the doctor sends it to her parasite friend who's like specializes in this stuff. Yeah, look at the worm because it's still alive. So they put it in this little cup, send it over to the friend, and it says it is a small place. So we sent the worm, which was still alive, to the lab. Blah, blah, blah. He looked at it and said, "Oh my goodness, this is I don't know how to say that. Oh, $50 what? Anyway."
Like some smart dude was like, "Oh, I recognize that worm."
Yeah. So it says that's a relatively common roundworm found in carpet pythons, which is snakes that are common in that area. So this worm usually is a parasite on these snakes. It's not that's why they called it an accidental host, because they're not usually coming into humans. It's usually hanging out in the carpet pythons. Wow. But they said that they think she became an accidental host after collecting these greens, which is a type of native grass from a lakeside near her home to use in cooking. Carpet pythons also inhabit that area, and the leading hypothesis among experts is that a python shed the parasite via its feces into the grass.
Okay, so for all you little boys and girls out there, this is why you shouldn't eat vegetables.
Yeah, there you go. So basically, they think a snake pooped there. They think she got some of it on the greens, which she later ate, and it had like the eggs or something or not the eggs. I don't know what the larva of the worm, would that be the right word?
She obviously didn't wash her food.
Yeah, she didn't wash it right. I don't know. They don't know, but basically that worm's not supposed to be in there, but it was in there.
But how did it get to her brain though?
But yeah, it grew inside of her. Look at that thing. That was just in her head. And yeah, she's good now though, I think.
Bet she don't dance as good anymore.
No. It says she's 64 years old.
Well,
you imagine your grandma going to the doctor and they pull a worm out of her head? The doctor later in the article, it says like, oh, she's such a trooper, this has never happened before. She's handled it good, and so good for her. But
this reminds me of a story that I heard years and years ago on a 60 Minutes.
Oh man. How many years ago we talking?
Probably 30 years
80
ago.
years ago.
Come on now.
Back in your.
I'm glad I'm not the oldest one in the room anymore.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Say some stuff about my dad.
And we're not that far apart in age, so we're just gonna keep the other old jokes down. But this little baby, his mom was a what do you call it when they sew stuff?
Seamstress.
Seamstress, and so it was like in a foreign country, and they would take the baby. The baby would like sit in her lap while she work all day, and the baby grew up to be like really, really smart. Yeah. And so he grew old, and he was just like, the smartest kid in the class, and his memory was like on another level than everybody else. But the older he got, his brain activity began to decline. Yeah. And so they started doing these MRIs and stuff. Well, what they found out was when he was little, sitting in his mom's lap, that a needle went through and connected the two sides of his brain.
Like in his head? In
his head. But over time, the needle, I guess, was...
Like the needle's still in there?
It was in there. They didn't know it was in there. I guess it was accidental.
Sounds like
she was
probably horrible seamstress. She didn't even know she put a needle in his head and left it there?
Right. But she's like guessing that's how it got there when he was a baby laying in her lap while she was at work. She didn't even know.
She's guessing.
Yeah. But then over time... The needle started deteriorating, and it was like starting to disconnect the two sides of his brain, so he didn't have that connection.
Where do y'all hear this stuff at?
Oh, he said 60 Minutes.
This was on. This is on a 60 Minutes. So I'm not the smartest dude, but I'm willing to go get a needle, stuck through my brain if I can
connect some loose ends.
Yeah, that would be the quick fix. That would be my...
I mean, I'm too old, to start learning new stuff.
Yeah.
So...
Jeez.
I don't know.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, so don't eat your vegetables or you'll get worms.
Right.
Or at least wash it before you...
It never would never sew?
So?
The seamstress don't...
Yeah, don't lay in your mom's lap while she's at work.
Yeah.
That's what I would
That's it. There you go. Now we've
conquered the world's problems. And don't eat papaya.
And papaya is the worst.
It's the worst. Have you ever had papaya before?
Not a big papaya fan.
I don't think there is anybody that's like a papaya fan.
I've had it like in sacks of trail mix or dried fruit or something like that.
It might be better dried.
At least I think that's what it is.
Probably dried it with sugar.
Like what fruit is this? But
yeah, fresh
I've
papaya.
Ever had fresh before?
No, tastes like eating rotten fish. All right, so I pulled a special song out for Brother Stacie.
Right.
He's our choir leader. Hey. So I was looking for songs, and this song just kind of popped out to me. So we're gonna listen to Zach Williams, "Old Church Choir."
Go. All right.
Yes, it's the little triangle. All right.
But you said it was a choir song, dude. That's a pop song.
I know. That was the kind of the thing.
Hey, our choir sang that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But
Good song.
And my uncle and my dad thought it was a reference to their age. I said, why you say you got an old church choir? Is that about us?
Right? And that's as new as it gets. No, I just thought it was a good song. It wasn't really a choir song, but we got the choir director here and
There you go.
a little bit of both, you know? A little good and a little old. I'm a fan of especially the older I get, of a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. And I wish that the new guys would redo a lot of the older songs, because I think there's power in some of the older songs, and they were written in a different time and a different generation under a different heart, under a different anointing. And I think there's some power in that. Yeah. Not that the anointing and the things are any better or any worse, but it was a different one, right? So to bring some of those older songs into maybe a new beat or a new way of singing it, I think would be a really good way to connect the two generations, where I think sometimes churches have problems connecting. So that's kind of a good segue. First of all, thanks for being here today. Like I said,
My pleasure.
This is one of those things that a lot of people have been asking about, even old students that's talked about some of the story with Stacie. Stories with Stacie time.
Story time with Stacie.
Story time with Stacie. What was the one that, oh man, I forgot to go back and look. The lady with silver pants or something?
I know what you're talking about, because my wife said, you better go back and listen to the last episode because they were talking about you. So I listened to you talking about the leopard skin pants, lady in the leopard pants or something.
All right, so let's start with that story.
Oh goodness. Okay.
You didn't think you could get here not tell a couple stories, huh?
Well, that seems to be what I'm known for. So yeah, I can tell a couple of stories. That story is, one time I wrote down a bunch of stories, just like off the top of my head, and I gave them names, and I think that one went under the title of my most embarrassing moment. And this was quite a few years ago, snow skiing. I think it was Crested Butte.
This is great because I don't actually know the story, so I'm trying to see if I remember it.
No, you weren't. Either you were off skiing by yourself somewhere. This involves me and your mom, and your Aunt Renee and Greg. And Greg had not been skiing that long when this happened. And Greg, my brother-in-law, is married to my sister Renee. I taught him to ski, or I taught him to ski. He had never been skiing. I think we had been maybe twice when he first went. He did not want to take a lesson. And he said, I don't want to waste time. Just tell me how to do it.
Greg's a man's a man.
So
if you ever
I tried
met
to,
a man's man,
and
that's great.
here I was the expert because I'd been twice, So I said, well, you got to zigzag, you got to do this thing called a wedge, and you got a pizza, you got to point your ski, that's your brakes, I wasn't a good teacher because I'd never seen him go slow down a slope. He's got one speed, he points his ski straight down, and he's usually the first one at the bottom or a wipeout happens. And that's how he likes to go. But
that's my style.
That's how he
goes. Now, my sister Renee, super cautious. All right, she goes at snail speed. Never seen her fall, but because she never goes more than 2-3 miles an hour, she's just very slow and cautious. My wife Debbie, probably the best skier. She was skiing when I met her. We had never been skiing. So I don't know if I've ever seen her fall. She's somewhere between, she doesn't take a whole lot of chances, but she just has her nice, comfortable speed, and she looks good going down the slope, and that's how she likes to do it. I'm somewhere between Greg and Renee. I usually just get out of control at some point and fall down. But anyway, I'm not quite as crazy as Greg. I do know how to use the brakes and, in theory, how to ski. Anyway, so the four of us were at the top, very top of this mountain, and we decided I think Greg wanted to race. Now that's a big no-no at the ski resorts. They have signs up, slow, and especially when you come to a congested area. No racing, and if the ski patrol sees you, they'll blow a whistle or holler at you. But we were going to race, 4 of us. First one to the bottom, and it was a long way. It was going to, it was like a top of the mountain to the bottom of the hill. And so I don't remember. The winner got ice cream or something. We were about to go eat. So off we go. And true to form, Greg points his skis straight to the bottom. And he used to wear this purple and yellow windsuit that he got from Buffalo High School when he used to teach there. And it would just be flapping in the breeze.
Like nobody's going to see him.
Yeah.
He had that same
And he
windsuit.
wore it for 20 years. I don't know what.
Blue jeans and that windbreaker.
Blue jeans and a
that was what
windbreaker.
he
That
did
was his
every
outfit.
time we went skiing.
Oh, yeah. So since this involves a lady in leopard skin pants, you have to know what we're wearing. So that's what Greg was wearing. He's wearing his windbreaker and jeans. Which not too many people ski in jeans, but he did. I was wearing my stuff that I bought at Walmart or wherever. Sometimes we'd stop at a truck stop or something on the way, and they'd have like a ski jacket or something. That's where I'd buy mine, not designer stuff. My wife, she's a little bit better. She'd buy hers
She's
at,
classy.
I don't know, J.C. Penney's or somewhere, a legit store. And I don't remember what Renee wearing, but we're not the high class. We're not wearing designer, ski outfits. You can tell we're from Texas. So off he goes like a flash. I mean, he's already halfway down. I'm in second place. I'm trying to go fast, but still not kill myself. Debbie's behind me. She's just doing her thing, back and forth, back and forth. Renee, she hadn't left the gate yet. I don't know if she's way up top. And so this is how we proceed. So minutes go by, 2-3 minutes. I can still see Greg. It's just like a flash of snow. He's way down there. I'm in second place, thinking the only chance I've got of catching him is if he falls, but he's probably going to fall because look at how he's doing. So I'm still trying to keep within striking distance. I look back, she's just doing her thing, looking good. Renee, I think I can see a speck way up on the mountain. She's still up there. So we're getting close, and I can see the lift at the bottom. So we're getting sort of close to the bottom, starting to see the signs that say slow down, caution. And all of a sudden it happens. Greg totally wipes out. It was like the agony of defeat, if you remember the old Wide World of Sports that used to come on, and they used to have this skier on there in the opening, and he'd wipe out. So Greg tumbles over, wipes out, and he's done. There's no way he's getting back in the race. So that propels me into first.
That's right.
And I look back to see a lot of my dad in me. So I begin to gloat.
Naturally.
So I take my ski poles and I begin to pump them over my head as I'm turned around, gloating to the women like, yeah, ha-ha, who's ahead now? Laughing at my brother as I pass him by. Like, yeah, ice cream for me.
Woo!
And it's always a bad idea to be going one direction and looking the opposite direction. And so I don't know how this happened, but the next thing I know is I turn back around and there's all these people. And I'm now at the bottom of the deal where everybody's congregated. And everybody's parting ways because I'm out of control. I'm at race speed, and I've been looking backwards. And so I've got a pole in each hand, and from out of nowhere, I see this very classy-looking lady. She's got leopard skin like leggings. I don't know what you call all this, but it didn't look like anything we were wearing. She wasn't in jeans and a windbreaker.
Ski bunny. She was a ski bunny, huh?
Yeah.
She's a ski bunny. She's older. I say older now. I was probably in my 30s when this happened, so she's like old in her 50s.
Yeah, she's our age.
And she's got like a hat thing around with like fur, around it. I mean, her outfit probably cost more than my whole ski trip, and equipment and everything. And she is right in front of me.
Oh no!
I mean, 5 feet in front of me. And all this happens within a split second. But I remember all this stuff going through my mind. I'm like, I'm about to hit this woman, and I'm going so fast, I'm going to probably knock her out. So I don't know. I have to decide whether I'm going to try to put my hands up and, like, kind of brush her off, push her away, or I'm going to try to, I just thought, no, that'd be like I'm just coming. If that was a football, that would be a flagrant foul, going for the quarterback's head. So it worked out where I just had my arms straight open like this. And I don't know what you call it, pancake or what, but face to face.
Face to face.
And over we went. She's on her back. I'm face to face on top of this poor woman. My skis went up, and, normally your skis fall off, but no, not this time. My skis would not come off, but they're up, twisted behind me, crossways over my back, so I can see my skis. It was the most embarrassing. So about that time, I see my wife ski up. Does she help me? No. She's like, almost falling in the snow laughing. Know. Then Greg comes up. He's recovered and come back down. They're just rolling in the snow. I look around, there's a whole gallery of people. Everybody had circled. Everybody's just looking. Most of them are laughing. Some of them are just looking like, this idiot should not be allowed on the slopes. Yeah. And all I can say, I'm looking, no matter where I look, I can't go to the left, I can't go to the right, I can't get my skis off. I can't do anything, so I'm looking nose to nose with this lady. And I'm just saying, I'm thinking she's hurt bad because, I hit her hard. I'm saying, ma'am, I'm sorry. Are you okay? Oh, man, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. And I said, are you okay? Are you okay? She would never say anything. And so I'm trying to get off. I'm looking for help. Nobody helps. And I'm trying to reach back, hit that little release thing on my ski boot. It just seemed like it took forever. And finally, the lady, I kept saying, ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay? And she said, get off of me now. Get off of me now, she said. I said, yes, and I don't know how I did it. I rolled like I don't know what, but somehow I got off of this woman. My ski's still twisted. I can't get up. She gets up. Some people help her up, and she gives me a dirty look, and off she goes. I'm still laying there. Family laughing. They laughed. They laughed
Get off.
So hard.
This reminds me of another story.
Finally, I get the skis off. I get up. I'm so embarrassed. I just want to go somewhere where there's no people. And that was the first. We skied 3 days, and I am not either. Everybody had leopard skin pants on, but it seemed like every lift I went to, that woman was there, and I just. No, we're not going there. I tried to this day, I have a reaction to leopard skin. And,
how do you like these? No, take them off.
Oh, man. It was embarrassing.
So that reminds me of another story that your dad told us.
Uh-oh, okay.
When he's taking his mother fishing, and he thought she was being electrocuted.
I was there.
Classic.
Was you there?
I was there.
And he said they were face to face, and all he could see was her beady little eyes, and she was like, "Get off of me!"
Exactly.
I'm saving your life.
That was a classic.
Yeah, I'm saving your life.
That was a classic.
I know that one.
Yeah, because if you didn't know, the only reason that story happened is because my grandmother couldn't talk right. She had a messed up voice.
Yeah.
And so when she would go to talk, it would kind of go,
Yeah.
So you'd have a hard time. I just thought that's how all grandmothers talked growing up.
Yeah.
That's all I ever heard.
Yeah.
I didn't know she used to be a song leader in a church and stuff and have a singing voice, and a really strong voice. And then later, when she was in her 80s, I think she had an operation done where they cut one of her vocal cords. And then it wasn't so spastic when she would go to talk, but it gave her a real light little
Soft.
Yeah.
kind of voice, because she only had one vocal cord vibrating against the one they had whatever, disabled. Yeah. So and we had the generator. We had a generator that was from Jimmy Carter. I don't know if anybody remembers. Jimmy Carter used to be sound man and not the maintenance man, but the building manager for Elam Church for many years. His name was Jimmy Carter. And he had an old generator that he sold Dad, and it ran off of propane, but it was the loudest thing. It was loud. And anyway, so yeah, you couldn't hear anything. And we had water all in the bottom of the boat. It was sloshing around, and the extension cord was laying in the water. And
Real safe.
yeah, it was real safe.
Train lights.
And my grandmother,
catch the fish.
she was right under the lights, and she was catching fish one after the other. And I think we were fishing with these jigs that had two things. So sometimes you catch two at a time. I think she had two at a time, and she got real excited. She was going, woo, woo. And my dad looked over, and she had grabbed hold of that pole, and she was going, woo, woo. And I don't know, something in his brain said, she's she's being electrocuted. He took off. Yeah, that was funny.
It was a little more noble than your story. Yours was.
Yeah, he was the hero in his story.
He was the hero.
Yours.
Yeah.
It's funny how one person can tell a story and then another person that was there too, and it's like totally different.
Yeah, I've heard that story so many times, but I've never heard. It would have been great to hear her tell that story.
Oh yeah.
You know, be like, I was just reeling in the fish.
He didn't tell me she
Next
was catching
thing
all
I
the
know,
fish.
my son. You know?
She said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
His storybook is awesome.
Yeah.
We've had him on here a few times telling those stories. So.
Yeah, he comes by mine. I heard him telling some stories about me, though. He gets some of the details wrong. I don't know.
So I heard, just let's talk about this one. So this one kind of like, a part of this story just stuck out to me when y'all was broke down on the side of this mountain, and he sent you off.
Time?
Which vacation are you referring
He
to?
sent you off with the mailman. Didn't even know him. He was just like, here,
bread. It was the bread
the
man.
bread man. Here, take my son.
I do remember that vaguely, and I don't know. He was a trusting guy, I guess.
I mean,
don't
you
know.
would never do that now.
No.
No. So what was the point of you even going? He was like, man, he'll have to bring me the parts because he's got my son.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know what he was thinking. I really don't know.
You must have been really getting on his nerves that trip.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. He was just like, take my kid. I gotta fix this.
I
car.
remember being out on the side of the road. I remember my poor little grandfather. He was out there waving a handkerchief trying to keep the traffic from plowing into the back of us. And, I just remember this guy came by. He knew exactly what was wrong. And this was like the fourth breakdown we'd had. Every time we'd come to an incline, the motorhome that we had borrowed from this guy in the church would vapor lock. That's what and nobody, we'd taken it to places, and they'd act like they didn't know. Because by the time you take it to the place, it's running fine because you're not on the side of the mountain climbing up, getting the engine hot. And this guy pulled over and said, are you vapor locked? And we're like, what? And he says, yeah, here's what you need to do. You need to, you need to cut this metal fuel line right here and cut it here and go get you a rubber, flexible fuel line and route it around here where it's not right by the engine block. You won't have any more trouble. And we're like, I guess Dad heard that, and he was so, here, take my son. And go.
Need payment here, take my son.
You'll get me off of this mountain.
You can have him.
But I do remember, that's the only time I've ridden in a bread truck. It was pretty neat. We got off the freeway, went to the store, and brought me back. But I don't know why I went with him. I don't know.
So do you think
maybe I had to go to the bathroom or something?
Yeah.
So do you think what y'all go through, because it doesn't just stop with him, it doesn't stop with you. I mean, this guy here, he's told me some Nissan stories, about him.
I've wondered. People have.
Is it a blessing or a curse? That's all I want to know. Because for us, it's a blessing. Because we get to hear the stories after it's over.
And I don't know. I don't know if stuff just happens to us that doesn't, just like more than our share, or if it's just that we do a lot and we're kind of looking for it now, or what. I don't know. I mean, I've done a lot of.
We do more than a
We
lot
do
of
a
people.
lot of
You are more adventurous
I don't know.
than a lot of families.
Well,
like when I was young, I had traveled more than most people my age, I guess. I don't know.
Same.
We took a lot of we'd take a vacation every summer. Dad was a school teacher when I was growing up, so he sort of had summers off, even though he worked like 2 or 3 other jobs most of the time during the summer. But we would always take a summer vacation, and I don't know. We just had a lot of
and that's how we were too growing
stuff.
up. But everybody in our family's teachers, so nobody's like rich,
I
but
think
we're always
that's
taking
I think
trips.
that's the thing.
and we're always trying to do it on the cheap.
Yeah,
on
so
the
we're
budget,
so I think inherently
We're like, look,
you're
we're gonna take this camper. I know it's not gonna make it, but we're gonna take it anyways.
I've never had a new car in my life. I've
Yeah.
never had a. Only thing I ever bought new was a 5th wheel trailer that I had issues with too. But yeah, all our vehicles are always. I don't know. We get more than the expected mileage out of them, so
Yeah.
I guess they're ready to break down when we take them. Or I don't know. I don't know why. But now I just every summer I would think, okay, there's going to be a story come out of something I do this summer. Because the first day back at school, the kids are going to want to know, give us a story. What happened to you this summer?
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, so some summers it would be like week before school, man, I don't have a good story. Nothing's happened. But invariably, something would happen. I go, all right, now I got a story.
So I heard that's the thing. Like if they could get you to tell a story, then by the time you're
Yeah.
done with your story, they didn't have to do the assignment that day.
It would get out of hand a little bit. They would try to bait me.
Yeah.
And they would think they were baiting me, but most of the time, if I didn't want to tell a story, I wouldn't tell a story. And you got to get we got a concert coming up, we got contests, we can't just tell stories all day. But some of them would have liked that because they liked the stories better than they liked singing. But I don't know. Some of them not so much. But yeah, it got to the point where I was telling them as many stories. I would use it as a reward. Y'all work hard. Last 5 minutes, I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
So tell me one of the best stories. There's got to be one that was just like.
Oh goodness!
That's a big question.
They all had their favorites, but the best story I've got is when I sank my boat in Galveston Bay. That was
Oh, that's a good story.
I mean, that was probably the most.
That was like a real
that was
kind of life or death story.
That was the real deal.
Most of these stories, it's more
just
inconveniences. This one was like actual danger,
That one happened, and so
He
for
said that would happen.
Yeah.
true to form, and I don't know if you want me to tell it, but that happened. That was one that happened about a week before school started, and while I was out there fighting for my life, I thought, well, I got a story to tell. If I live through this, I got a story to tell.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll tell you a funny one that just happened. A lot of my funny stories involve my brother-in-law, Greg.
Yeah.
He's about the closest thing I have to a brother since I don't have any brothers. And he doesn't have any brothers either. He's got lots of brothers-in-law. And we went up yesterday for Labor Day to celebrate his birthday, which was in end of August. And I had given him a set of outdoor cameras to put in his Arkansas place. He's got a place in Arkansas, an old farmhouse. And I had bought me some to put at my Colorado, because while I'm in Colorado, I want to be able to see my house back home, kind of check, not that I can do anything, but anyway, when I'm home, I'm always wondering if the deer are eating my flowers and in my yard and stuff up there. So I bought these little Blink outdoor cameras. You put up to 5 of them on a hub. So anyway, I enjoy him so much, I thought he ought to have some for his Arkansas place. He has game cameras, but he has to put it on his computer, an SD card, and look at the first thing he does is see what animals have come up. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm going to get him some of these cameras. So I bought him a set, 2, I got them on sale. It's a pretty good deal. So he went to Arkansas last weekend, just got back past Saturday. And so got to his house yesterday morning, and they're back, and he says, man, you made me look like an idiot with those cameras. And he's not super tech savvy. I'm not either, but I could install the cameras. And I told him, they go through your Wi-Fi. And I said, if you have any trouble, give me a call. I'll help you hook them. I've done 2 sets of them now. And come to find out, yesterday morning, about an hour before I get to his house, he gets a notification. Now, you set these cameras to, like, sense motion and all this stuff, and you'll get and if it does, it starts recording the movie clip, sound and everything. So yesterday morning he gets a notification, and I don't have that on mine. I don't have it armed. It's disarmed. I just click on it if I want to see if it's raining or something like that. So, but he's got his set to detect motion. So he gets a notification yesterday morning, activity on your camera. So he pulls it up. It's the outdoor. He's got one outdoor and one inside. And it's outdoor camera, and he watches the 30-second clip. He doesn't see anything. He said, well, it must have just been the leaves or something, the tree blowing, set it off. So then he clicks on the indoor camera, and he sees an intruder. Sees this guy walking, looking at his phone, walking through their house in Arkansas, and he freaks out. It's like, runs it back, plays it over. Yeah, somebody's in my house. So he calls Renee, somebody's in our house. He says, it's a good thing your brother gave us these cameras what's the chances? We just installed these, and we already got somebody. Now, they have had some people up there, like somebody stole his boots off his porch. He leaves his boots on his porch. He came up there one time, and somebody had stolen his shoes. So, and he was up there, so some strange-looking guy came by and said, yeah, we had a lot of thieving going on up here. So it all made sense to him. He pulls this up, sees this guy in the house, and he doesn't have his glasses on. So they call the sheriff up there, or whatever county that is. And the guy said they're taking all this information. Is the man armed? And he said, I don't know, I can't tell. And but he's definitely in the house. You know, he's walking around. And so they said, well, we gotta got some guys en route. They're on their way, coming from Mount Ida, Arkansas, to probably a 30-minute drive to get out there to his place. They get out there. He looks at it again. Renee looks at it, because Renee hadn't seen it. She goes, let me see that. And she looks at it. She goes, Greg, that's you. And he looks at it. He goes,
is it all recording?
Oh, it is. It is me. Yeah. I said, Greg. So, and they're like, you got to call the guy back. They're like, no, we're not. It's too embarrassing. So finally they called him back. Cancel that. Cancel that order. It was actually me. How can you be looking at a picture of you? You're in Houston. So when he installed the things, it evidently took a movie and stored it. And so when he got the notification, it was for the outdoor camera, and it was just trees moving. And I don't know, he clicked on that other camera, and it pulled up that clip. He thinks it's live. I said, didn't you recognize your shirt or your... He
that
said,
purple windbreaker jacket.
This guy looks really familiar.
He stole my clothes.
He's wearing my boots.
I didn't have my glasses on.
This is the same guy that took my boots.
But this is the same brother-in-law that got up. They were in a motel somewhere, and they had a little. He got up to brush his teeth, and he put some toothpaste on his brush. Started brushing his teeth. Some of the worst toothpaste that's just like disintegrated. Gonna find out it was a little tube of lotion. You know, they give you the complimentary. He didn't have his glasses on, so he was. Oh man. He's got some stories. You'll have to when he's in town, get him to come in.
Oh yeah, we need to get him. We need some contacts or something.
He had the craziest upbringing ever in his life. Totally different from mine. Yeah. And I think I've heard all of his stories, but invariably he'll bust out with something I've never heard before, and I've known him for 35 years. But.
And he's a man of all, like, he can do anything.
He can
except being in cameras.
Yeah. And brushing his teeth as well.
He went and bought his own clothes from a garage sale one time. Renee, their church had a rummage sale, so she went through all his old clothes, got some jeans, and had some like brand new looking jeans that were too little for him. And she had all these bags, stuff, boxed up all his clothes, took them to the church. And so later at the end of the day, Renee took it. She's working at the place, and I guess nobody bought them. So she starts going through looking for bargains, and comes home with these jeans, the same ones. She goes, "I got you some jeans." Oops, knocked the mic. She goes, "I got you some new jeans that look like they've hardly been worn." And he goes, put them on. He goes, "They're too small, just like those ones I had."
That's great.
Matter they get to checking. It's the same clothes she took. She bought them back.
She said, "This looks like Greg would wear this."
You would wear these.
Because they still don't fit.
That's good.
Oh man. Yeah, your stories are great, man. I think we obviously need to get Greg in here. They're just so good people. That whole family is just such, from the kids to the parents, are just a great family. So, you was a school teacher. You had you taught choir in school. How long you been the choir director here at Elam?
I was thinking about that the other day. It's got to be like 1985-ish.
Wow.
Or something, 84, 85.
35 years at least.
Because I was a couple of years into college and decided I was going to do that for a living. And Dad was basically doing it all back then. I think he became the pastor in 82 maybe, when I was a senior in high school, which I wasn't happy about. I just remember that. I wasn't happy about any of his career. He was like a rock star at Galena Park High School. When I was in junior high and element, everybody knew he was like. Everybody knew Ron Nissen. He was like the most popular teacher over there.
And you didn't go to that school. You went to Deer Park, right?
No. I went to Roland P. Harris Elementary School till the 3rd grade, which is over off of I-10 right there, kind of by Federal Road, and it's still there. Got a bunch of buildings, and that's where I went to elementary. I went 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade there, and then we switched and started going to Galena Park Elementary because Dad taught in the district. The teachers' kids could go to school in the district, and that was a much better school district back in the day than HISD. And
he taught at Fur, right?
He taught at Fur for a while, but then he had taught at Galena Park for quite a while.
Okay,
is where he taught mostly. So I don't know. They decided we needed to go, so we'd ride to school with him, which was a blessing and a curse, because I never went to school with the kids in my own neighborhood.
Right.
So you had your neighborhood friends, and I was kind of a loner kid anyway. All I wanted to do is play drums most of the time, and I was perfectly happy just doing my thing. I would play drums for hours a day. But I had neighborhood friends, but I didn't go to school with them. Then I had church friends, and we never lived close to the church. We always lived, so none of the, I had church friends, but I didn't go to school or live in the neighborhood with church friends. So it was kind of that kind of a deal. But yeah, we'd ride to school with Dad in the morning and ride home with him in the afternoon. But when I got to be over in Galena Park back in the day, 9th grade was still in junior high. He had 7th, 8th, and 9th was junior high. And just 10th, 11th, and 12th was in high school. Of course, nobody does that much anymore, but that's how it was. So when it came time for me to go to the 9th grade, that's when he felt the call to preach, decided he was going to do full-time church. And I was not happy because I wanted to be in his choir, I wanted to be most... Yeah. I was a popular kid because of my, everybody knew my dad, and I wasn't in choir. They didn't even have choir, I don't think, in junior high back over there. I was in band, but when I finally got the opportunity, I'm going to be in my dad's choir, have my dad for a teacher. I thought that would be cool, and that's when he said, I'm going to quit teaching, going to be the full-time music minister at the church we were going to, which at that we'd been at First Assembly for a few years. So I wasn't too happy about that. And that's when we moved to Deer Park. He said they got the best schools around this area. And because he was no longer going to teach in the district, we couldn't go to Galena Park anymore, we'd have to start. I would have been going to Fur High School, which had issues at that time. They were having race riots every day and integration and all
It
kinds
never
of
did
stuff.
get any better. I think maybe it's cleaned up a little bit more
don't
now
know.
than it used to be, but yeah, it's been pretty
Now, I had a
rough.
cousin, Peggy, my Uncle Dale's oldest daughter. She graduated from Fur as valedictorian. She's one of the smartest people I know. So just because you go to a school with issues doesn't mean you can't be successful. But anyway, they didn't want me. They wanted me to, I guess, have some better opportunities. So that's when we moved to Deer Park. And I wasn't happy about that because I didn't want to move to Deer Park. I didn't know anybody. And then when he decided to become the pastor here, well, now I'm established over at First Assembly. I got friends, my girlfriend's over there, my best friend. You know, I know everybody there. I hadn't been to Elam since, you know, I was like 5th grade or so. I don't know what it was when we left Elam, but it had been 5 or 6 years, or 4 or 5 years. And so I'm like, and we came over here, and I think there was like 60 people or something, you know. There was no youth group. There was no youth. There was no nothing. And I'm like, man, I don't want to do this. And I even remember he was preaching in the game room. He did that for a while when he. So anyway, I wasn't too happy about all the changes, but I'm glad he didn't listen to his whiny son. You know, Dad, why don't you go back and teach again?
Yeah.
Because God had other plans, obviously. So.
He did some amazing things for sure in his tenure here, and we're seeing the the fruit of everything that you guys did, because he didn't do it his own. I mean, y'all's whole family was very involved of doing a lot of things, and I know probably because he had you guys as far as his children, and that become one of the first things that he did was try to start a children's church.
Yeah, but you asked me about the choir. Yeah,
choir.
But I never really got to sing in his school choir.
Yeah,
church choir is so much different than school choir in a lot. I mean, it's a choir, but the way you run it is so much different. So I always regret not getting to sing in his. He had some great choirs over there. He was a really good choir director, and I never really appreciated that when I was a little kid until I started doing that for a living, and then talking to some people who were still choir directing that knew him and said, "Man, your dad was awesome. He had some great choirs." And so I never really appreciated that when I was back, and I wish I'd have got to sing in his choir. But yeah, when I decided I was going to be of all things a choir director, high school choir director, he because he was doing the choir, he was preaching, he was doing everything, leading the singing and the worship. And he came to me, he goes, "Well, if you're going to do this for a living, you might as well start doing it at the church for God." He says, "It'll help you. You'll learn a lot." So he said, "The church choir is yours once you start doing the church choir." And I was going to SFA up in Nacogdoches. I'm like, I can do the church choir. And back then, the church choir sang on Sunday nights. That was our big service. When I was growing up, was Sunday night service. Sunday morning, kind of everybody's on their best behavior, and you got out at noon or whenever. It's like Sunday night, you didn't know when you're going to get out. But that's when the choir sang. That's when everybody let loose. Jericho marches, and you remember all that.
I do.
It's like that was the service of the week, the Sunday night service, and so that's when the choir sang, and they always practiced about. Church would start. If church started at 6 or 7 or whatever, the choir would practice like an hour before, and so I would come home every weekend, work the Chronicle, and started doing the church choir on Sunday, and then head back Sunday night to Nacogdoches for school. So that's how I ended up doing the choir. And I don't know what year that actually was, and my aunt did the choir some. She really did a lot of the Easter pageant. We used to do it Easter. Dad kind of started that, and then when I was like, I can't do an Easter. I can maybe sing in the Easter pageant, but I can't do an Easter pageant from Nacogdoches, you know. And so she would kind of do the Easter pageant. That for several years, that was kind of the big thing the choir did. Yeah. And but I don't know exactly how long I've been doing it, but since I was in college, and I know I taught choir for 35 years, so it's got to be a long time.
Wow. Do you see Do you see a difference between professionally trained choir directors in the church and then somebody that's just volunteer, or because I'm sure most churches don't have their local choir director.
Most churches don't even have a choir anymore.
Yeah,
It's worship teams, and that started probably 20 years ago. Worship teams,
Yeah.
and so you got your people that can kind of sing in the church. They want to be on the worship team, and it's a little bit that way. Now I wish everybody on the worship team, because we got some great singers that sing on the different worship teams. I wish they would all come to choir. I'm just a believer in choir. But most churches now that still have a choir would be like your Methodist churches, big Baptist churches, more denominational, formal type churches. But most churches, full gospel churches, whatever, they don't have. I don't know that they have choirs that much anymore. I think CT Church, I know they certainly used to. We used to get together with them for what is it? Pentecost Sunday. They have a church.
I know they recently did a remodel. I don't know how this affected their choir, but they recently did a remodel and put LED screens where their choir.
Maybe they don't.
Yeah,
It's just hard to get. People are busy.
Yeah.
You can't get. It's hard to get them to come Sunday morning. If they come Sunday morning, it's like, and then, come another night of the week to practice choir or whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard to get them, but I'm glad we still have a choir. I'm glad Pastor Mark lets us still do it. And I don't know how many people like the choir music. I try to sing. We do a lot of music from the Brooklyn Tabernacle, and they have they're kind of like the premier choir for churches like ours anywhere in the country, and they put out some great music. Because most choir music, like I used to go to convention every summer in San Antonio where they put all the new music, and you try to pick music for the year for your different choirs and so forth. And they'd have church choir sessions, and I would go to those. Never got any music for our church choir from those. I was like, this ain't the kind of music we do. It's the words are good. But I'm like, it doesn't do anything for me when I hear it. And I think if I'm going to ask people to come out and work and sing, it needs to be something they're going to enjoy singing. They're going to feel something when they sing it. People feel something when they hear it. And a lot of the traditional church choir music is just music. So people sit and write it out, and nothing wrong with it, I guess. But it doesn't work in our church. We have a unique church, So when I found this Brooklyn Tabernacle stuff, I'm like, man, that's the kind of music I would like to listen to and sing, and it's different, and it's. Of course, now it's kind of more mainstream, but back when I was glad to find them. So we found a lot of stuff like them, and there are still some church choirs out there, but it's not like it used to be. Every church had a choir, no matter how, 5 or 6 people. But anyway, I wish everybody would. I know everybody can't, doesn't have a solo voice, but a lot of people could sing in the church choir. That don't do it. They're just intimidated. Choir, singing just a personal thing all the way around.
Right.
It's different than playing a saxophone or playing a trumpet. It's because it's you.
It's personal.
Well, I used to play a saxophone, so if you go in there and you start playing it and it squeaks on you, you look at your reed or your mouth. I need a new reed. This thing is old, or you can blame it on your horn. I don't have a $10,000 Bach trumpet. I'm playing on this $100 pawn shop one. That's why I don't,
So my son plays
But when but when it's you're the singer. It's a very it's way more personal.
Right.
And so people are intimidated just to sing. Period. Much less. And I never, I was so intimidated to sing. I didn't get in choir in high school. I was frustrated at my dad because I was going to be in his choir, and then went to Deer Park, don't know anybody. I was already in band, so I thought, well, I'll do band. I thought I'll do wood shop. The main thing, I didn't want to do choir. I had this thing in my mind, everybody can compare me to my dad. And my dad, still a good singer, but back in the day, he was a phenomenal singer. I mean, he could have made a living singing opera at one time in his life, probably, if he'd have wanted to do something like that. A great voice. And everybody knew my dad. I still do. I can't go anywhere in the world just about I don't see somebody that doesn't know him in some respect. So I thought, if I sign up for choir at Deer Park, first thing's going to happen, they're going to want to hear me sing. And nobody had heard me sing. In my mind, I wasn't even sure I could sing. I was a drummer. That's all I cared about doing, playing drums. But in my mind, I knew I could sing, but I could sing like my dad. And I thought, first thing they're going to, because I look like my dad, they're going to see my last name. They're going to say, "You're Ron Nissan's son. I bet you sing like your dad," or something. In my mind, that's how my young brain was thinking. So I thought, and I don't want to sing by myself in front of anybody. I'll sing in a choir, but I don't want to sing by myself. And so I didn't sign up for choir. I did wood shop for about three and a half weeks, and I was miserable. I was in there with guy. I thought, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, you should be in choir. That's where you should be. And so I went in like the day before it was too late to change your schedule, and signed up for choir. Walked in. They had a new choir director at Deer Park. Her name was Becky Allen, and it was her first year there. She had been at Clear Creek, an assistant at Clear Creek. Knew my dad. My greatest fear came true. I walked in with my little, transfer sheet, and they said, "Oh, who we got?" She looks, and she goes, "Nissan. Are you Ron? You're not Ron Nissan's son, are you?" And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am, I am." Everybody's looking at me, I interrupted the whole choir rehearsal.
Went back to wood shop.
She said, "I've known you." She goes,
"This day, I hated wood shop."
"I remember you when you were this tall, following your dad around at the convention in San Antonio, blah, blah. Can you sing like all my greatest?" I said, "No, ma'am, I cannot sing like my dad." But, yeah, that's my dad. Well, let me take you in here in the office, and here I'm just like I could feel the blood rushing to him.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, now if that had been my dad, people don't understand, I look like my dad, and I got a lot of my dad's traits, but my basic personality is way more like my mom.
Yeah.
If I'm in front of the congregation or in front of a group, I kind of can do like my dad, but one-on-one or whatever, I just soon be in the background. And so, man, I went in there and I sang, and I got through it. And then choir was turned out to be my thing. Even though I was in band all through, I really liked choir.
Yeah.
And decided that's what I wanted to do.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you guys feel that way? Because I know y'all was in choir, but I never heard y'all sing. So did you ever feel like, man, I just don't want to sing? Because until y'all was a little bit older than you and Ben started singing, I was just like, oh, wow. I think everybody was kind of shocked that, not that y'all could sing, but that y'all are singing now. So did you ever have it like...
Yeah, I mean, I still don't want to sing at all. I've never wanted to sing.
Yeah.
But when you make your own music, somebody's got to sing.
Yeah.
And
James kind of acted like he did it out of obedience.
Well, yeah, because you made me do it.
I feel like it was just same deal. Like, didn't you ride the bus? Like, I feel like you took him to school
thing.
and no kids. The guy had friends in the neighborhood, but friends.
It's scary.
Yeah.
The way things
the paths, the likenesses of stuff.
My difference was I didn't ever really want to do choir. I liked band, because I played drum. I was in band in junior high, and I played drums, and I just wanted to play drums. But I didn't want to do band in high school because you had to march, and you had to do all the marching band stuff.
None of them wanted to do marching band.
Yeah.
Did not want to do that.
Jazz band was great, but no marching.
I don't know if they just didn't have a jazz band at the time or what.
They have them, but they didn't do it.
Luke loves jazz band. That's like
I think it was like a semester you could do it. But you couldn't
was
sign up
after
for jazz
school,
band. You
wasn't
had to sign up for band. And if you were in band, then you had to march. And then jazz band was like another thing you could do.
Yeah, I think like jazz band's almost like a club.
Which I love, jazz band. I did jazz band in San Jac in college, and that was super cool. But no, I never wanted to sing at all. But he kept making us sign up for choir.
I just said you're gonna do, you got to have some fine arts, all right, to graduate.
So I was gonna do band 1 year to get my credit, and then
I don't think you wanted to do it.
Well, I was signed up for band in 9th grade. I didn't want to do it, but I had to get the credit. And then you go, well, you got to do choir. And I said, well, if I'm going to do choir, then I'm not going to do band too. So then I didn't do band. And then I got my choir credit. And then I didn't sign up again next year because, I got my credit. I'm done, right? And then the next 10th grade comes around and he's like, hey, what? Well, I just found out you're not signed up for choir. What's this? I was like, well, yeah, I got my credit. He goes, you got to do choir. And so he signs. And when your dad is the choir director,
you don't have to get.
He can just walk down to the office and change your schedule. And so then I had to do choir again. And
I would have done that even if you hadn't been my son. 'Cause he was good.
Yeah.
I'm a good kid. I can follow instructions.
Well, he's a good kid, but
not
he was
cause
also
trouble.
a good musician and good singer.
I was okay at singing.
Oh, he was good.
I was
singer.
really okay at it.
He was good at it. And if he'd have worked at it, he could have been.
Yeah.
But he's one that's like he's a lot like I just be in the background or whatever. I'm just do choir. I'm not going to do anything extra.
Yeah.
And that particular year, the head choir director, the choir that he ended up being in, our top choirs, so if you're in this choir, you're going to try out for region choir.
Yeah, I think
And
that
I
was
thought,
11th or 12th
James
grade.
going to drop out at this because he don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But he did it, made region choir,
That's the Luke on the horn. He's just like, I don't
I
want
was
to do
so
that
mad
because
about
he's a shy kid, so he doesn't want to do the individual stuff.
I didn't want to do it
because
because
he's great at it.
I didn't want to do it because if you do it, then you have to go sing in the region choir.
Right.
And then that
You
you
don't
have
want to do the extra stuff.
You had to go show up that
wanna do
weekend. It was the whole
anything
weekend, and
Yeah.
and I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to get my credit and go home. That was it. But I will say, it's become, since I do have to do a bunch of singing now, it's become super useful. I'm way better. If I hadn't done choir for 4 years, like I wouldn't be good at singing harmonies, and that's kind of, I feel like, is one of my stronger suits in with singing anyway. And so it's become super useful. And so I'm glad that
reading music and stuff like that comes in handy.
And I'll work with other bands and stuff, and I'll help them record something, and they'll be trying to sing something. It's weird because then I end up being like a little mini choir director for a session because they'll be having trouble hitting the note, and I'll be like, well, okay, it's because your vowel sound is like this, and you need to.
I sound like my dad.
Yeah, I'm like, you need to switch to your head voice for that note, and so it's become super useful. But I was always annoyed because I didn't want to do it at all.
I think one of the interesting stories with you, and you've been a phenomenal choir director here at the church, and we've had nephews and nieces and friends that went through your school choir, and we've been to not all of the shows, but many shows over at Deer Park that you've been a part of. But the one thing I think is unique about our church is you were one of the first drummers, I think in church.
Yeah.
Well,
In the area at least, right?
that I know of.
So you kind of was out on the front of some like church change, and really kind of made a difference in worship and different things like that.
That's just our church in general, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in this church when, with the exception of like 4 years where Dad we went to the, when he went into full-time church work over at First Assembly, and there was before that a few months at a place called Centerwood. I've been in this church my whole life, just like my dad. So I don't have a lot of experience. I thought all churches are like our church, and this was the first church that I know of that started singing. Back then we call them choruses because back before then everybody sang hymns. You had a hymnal, and you sang hymns. That's how most churches do. The little church that when I'm in Colorado that we go to, they'll sing like 3 songs, and they're good songs. They're trying to, kind of get. It's a little bit more formal. Just it's called Ure Community Fellowship, and they'll have 2 or 3 guys up there with a guitar and playing. And they'll have even a guy with not a beatbox. What do you call it?
A cajon.
A cajon up there, kind of playing that sometimes. So the pastor's kind of leads the worship, and they're singing stuff like on the radio. They'll sing some stuff that we do here, and they'll do a traditional hymn or something. But it's printed there. They're going to do those 3 songs, and at the end of the service, they're going to sing another song, And that's how most churches were. But when I just remember, I started playing the drums when I was 5, And I don't know, it wasn't too long after that I probably was playing in church. I don't think I was playing when I was 5, but I'd say by the time I was 7 or 8, for sure I was playing in church. And my uncle played the piano, my aunt played the organ, I played the drums, different people played the bass. But I don't know any other. That was back when Andre Crouch was big, really, this is late 60s, early 70s, and he changed the way a lot of churches did worship music because they weren't hymns anymore. It was, and there was no contemporary Christian music to speak of. I mean, you didn't have any radio stations that you could listen to, so you bought the album, and, but we sang a lot of Andre Crouch stuff, and he wrote some anointed, what we just called choruses back then, and so we just try to recreate what was on the deal. And I know they had a little.
And how old was you at this time?
Oh, I'm probably.
You're still pretty young.
I'm born in '64. This is probably
Excuse me.
late '60s. So okay.
Yeah.
I'm 7 or I'm
He does
6 or
this a few
7.
times every
7 or
year.
8. Okay. Don't- But they had a little group here. They called the Echoes, Elam Echoes, or something. I'm trying to remember people.
I like that.
They were all young people back then, and the old, these were like my aunt and oh goodness, Dave. What was all their? I can't. Jerry Flynn. There was just all these people that were old, grown up old people when I was a kid. But they were really just in their 20s. Gene Bailey.
Herky.
No, not Herky.
Not
Herky
Herky.
wasn't here then.
Okay.
But anyway, they were just like 6 or 7 of them, and they would sing work-up stuff, like contemporary stuff of the day. Stuff that if there had been KSBJ, you would have heard on KSBJ.
Okay.
But there's a lot of Andre Crouch stuff and not hymns, And they would work, Nancy Harmon was another one that used to come through. And they had drums and stuff, and so I just remember Dad saying, "Why don't you play?" Because he led the singing. "Why don't you play drums on this?" And so we'd haul the drums up here, and so I didn't know any different. And we had different people play the bass. Oh goodness, my brain doesn't work anymore. But anyway, I just played in church, and I remember I was always getting told to play softer, because some people really liked it. Some of the old ladies, they didn't like it. You're too loud, everything's too loud. And I remember one time I played with pencils. I think I broke a stick or something, and everybody was, I just got some number 2 pencils, yellow pencils. And I thought, I can't, if it's too loud now, something's wrong. I mean, I was very conservative, especially in church. But I didn't know any other churches that had drums. I'm sure there were some Pentecostal churches around.
Right.
This is the only one but none of
It's probably some gospel churches. Some
I
black
remember
gospel
telling my
churches.
friend that, when you're in elementary and junior high and they find out you're a drummer, "Oh, you playing a band?"
Yeah.
all your friends, "Well, you playing a band?" I said, "No, I play at my church." And they play at church, drums at church. That was unheard.
Right.
What kind of church you go to?
Everybody was Church of Christ back then.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I remember we sang a lot of worship type choruses and stuff way before that was the fad. Now you just about any church you go to, even if it's a traditional Methodist church, they'll have a contemporary service or something early, where they sing worship music. Everybody does it now, but I don't know. Our church was always kind of a leader in that regard, more than a follow the fad kind of a deal.
Did that give you like any type of way to look at it as time goes and generations come and music's changed? And how did that help you, or was it still hard to kind of move with the times? Because I know change is the hardest thing that we deal with.
Now I'm an old codger now, but I was always that's how life goes. Everybody, all the music you like now, one day that'll be the old music.
Yeah.
And then I like a lot of the new music. but when I started leading, and I never wanted to be the worship leader ever. I did that kind of out of guilt. Anthony Mooney did it.
My cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought he was great. And I loved with Dad. Dad used to do it, and then Dad tried to start. I'm not going to. We need somebody else to do the choir. We need somebody else to lead worship. I ain't doing it all. And Anthony did it for a long time, and I played the drums when Anthony led. I can't. What's her name? Paul Owens and
Paulette.
What's his wife's name?
Paul Owens. Oh, Kim.
Kim. She did it for a while, for a year or so. I don't know how long. I played drums, and in my mind, I'm a drummer. I'm not even a singer. I'm like a drummer that sings or a drummer that leads. It's kind of like whatever you start off doing, then in your mind, that's what you are. And so
Same.
I would be happy just to be that's kind of like my first love music-wise is drumming. I did it for hours a day. And that's just what I wanted to do.
You're one of the most coolest drummers that I know because you got good hands, but you don't. The rest of your body doesn't move. You're like a really slick jazz.
I was never. You got to know, where did I grow up playing drums in church?
With pencils.
Yeah.
With telling you're too loud. And I did it all by myself, listening. I was never in a band.
Yeah.
So I was never out there. I was just like, if I can make it sound like the record, then what's the difference? So I would make it sound like the record, and I didn't worry about what I looked like. And everybody's like, you're emotionless. You need to.
Because you got and then you got Caesar that's got elbows flying everywhere.
So everybody's got different style. I can make the sounds that Caesar makes, but I can't. To me, it's like, why I gotta
all the extra motion.
I don't throw my head around. But that's probably because I grew up playing in church.
Well, my boy Salvador out there, he gets into his music too.
Salvador does it. He plants a leg at some point, and then he starts rocking. Right here, he does.
But everybody's got a style. But
yeah.
No, when I started leading worship, I just felt guilty. Because after Kim Owens left, and I think Anthony was gone, I don't know. We just had different people.
Yeah.
Week to week would get up there and
sorry.
lead it.
Hold it together, David.
Is my wife in the house?
No. Oh, Mom. Hey, I got it.
She'll listen to that.
David does this about 3 or 4 times an episode.
Yes, I'm good.
I don't know what it is. He just starts sucking down something. Goes.
And I'm trying not to burp, so I'm trying to suck
Is
my
that
burp.
what it is?
I'm trying to suck my burp back in.
Anyway, I think Dad asked me to do it, and I said, "No, man, I don't want to. I want to play drums. I don't want to." But I would play drums, and I would watch different ones get up there, and in my heart, I thought, I know I can do better than that, and I felt guilty because in my heart I thought, I know I can do, but would be better at that than the people that are trying to do it, that really aren't probably called to do it or can't really do it. And so I don't know. I just kind of reluctantly started doing it, and I think that's when Bobby came along because then we needed a drummer if I was going to lead worship, and Bobby C was coming at that time, and he's another super. When I used to know him first, I didn't even know he played the drums. He played the trumpet.
Yeah.
And he'd bring his
I didn't know
trumpet.
he plays the trumpet. He plays that too.
He's the first. I mean, trumpet's I think his first instrument.
Yeah. The trumpet.
When he was in school, he played trumpet, and so when I would play drums, sometimes he'd bring his trumpet and play. And then when I started kind of doing the worship, he's like, "Well, I can play drums," or I don't know how we found out he could play drums, but he was like, "Man, you're good on drums." And I don't know how many years ago he picked up a guitar, and like a few weeks later he's playing guitar and
me and him had a conversation about that. It was like when he first started leading worship, and he said something. I was just like, "Man, you oughta," because he could pick up anything.
Yeah.
I said, "You oughta try to play the guitar," and then 3 weeks later, you know,
He's
how to
like-
play the guitar.
He's like, yeah, he played guitar now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one of the greatest things that I've gotten to witness over the years is, and I don't know where this lands for you, but to see it's definitely growth on your side, but you've over the years you was like very stoic up there and not talking a whole lot, but then to really see when you got a little bit older, you begin to show some emotion and speak a little bit more, and I think. I feel like, man, we missed some of that over the years, some of the wisdom and different things that you have. But now that we're getting to see that, it's been, I think it's been really good for our church, and it's been really cool for me to see.
Well, sometimes I talk too much, like probably
Well,
like I'm
maybe.
doing on this thing too. But no, I don't know.
Is it just age that comes out? I mean, 'cause I see you showing a little bit more emotion and different things.
I get way more emotional than I used to. I cry at the drop of a hat. It's embarrassing. I mean, I'll sit there and sometimes just read a scripture or something, and I'll be sitting there in church, and sometimes if something just like kind of just hits me, I'll start tearing up. I'm like, what? And my wife will look at me and, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I don't know why." That's a good verse, or something. I'll just like something will hit me, and so I don't know. Sometimes I'll say stuff, and then I think, man, I should have just. We're up here to worship, so that's the main thing. When you lead in worship, you're not up there to hear a sermon during that part of the service. You're here to whatever, but you want people to. It's so easy in worship, especially if you've been singing your whole life, and you just go through the motion. You sing the song, and the song's a good song, whatever, but you're not really worship. You're not really making that connection with God while you're singing, and that's what we got to do. So sometimes if I can say something that'll help people realize what they're singing about, or man, and sometimes I'll just be singing, all of a sudden a line of the song that I've sung 1,000 times, just like, that's what that means, whatever. And anyway, so sometimes I'll say it, and sometimes people will say, "Hey, that was good," or that was good, or whatever. And then other times, my wife or somebody will say, "He's talking too much, worship too long. We got to get going. Got other things to do."
I think the emotion is good because I was just mentoring to one of my guys that works for me, and he's going through some struggles, and he was saying he was having a hard time kind of grieving over one of his uncles or grandfather or something dying, and I told him, I said, the truth is that real men do cry.
Yeah.
And as men, we're always taught, "Oh, get up, quit crying, that didn't hurt," or come on, just suck it up, move forward. And as little boys, that's in us from very young. But I think that's not always healthy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times healthy places are to let your emotions go sometimes, and to be able to see that from the stage and see someone like you or Bobby, or even when Pastor Marks is getting a little bit better about it, is showing those emotions really helps that guy in the audience that says, "Okay, I feel it here, but I never let it come out."
Yeah, I don't. It frustrates me though when I'm trying to sing and I get choked up.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a fine line. I mean, I certainly want to be worshiping and feeling stuff myself, but at the same time, I'm supposed to be up there leading. I can't. I'm like, come on, get it together, sing.
Yeah.
And it's when you get emotional, your voice doesn't work.
Right.
Because you are the instrument again. I could probably still play a saxophone and cry, but it's hard to sing and cry.
What is your like proudest moment? I'm gonna ask you two questions. Your proudest moment in your life, and then something that you regretted.
Dang, you got deep.
Oh
there
my
at the
gosh,
end, man.
I regret a lot of stuff.
But what's your proudest moment? What is the thing that you're like most proud about? What you did, or what your family's accomplished, whatever it may be.
Well, I since James is sitting next to me, I'll tell you one of my proudest moments.
Oh, this will be good.
When we played a drum solo.
Oh, that was so
Oh, yeah,
good.
that was a good one.
At Hello, Texas, which was our big pop show.
Yeah.
Most of my proudest stuff just involves my kids, probably.
Yeah.
I think that's probably most parents. But I've had some very proud moments with my kids. But I Never worked with him on drums ever. Now I got Rand's want me to teach Josiah drum lessons. I never really took. I think I took 2 lessons, so I don't know that I'd make a good teacher. And people would approach me over the years, want me to teach drum lessons. Teach my kid drums, and I never had time. So that was always I'm working 3 jobs. I just don't have time to teach drum lessons. Maybe sometime in the future. But anyway, he just started playing percussion, like he said, in the junior high, and he was great at it. He would play like xylophone, keyboard type percussion stuff.
That's where it came from then, huh?
Percussion's fun.
Yeah. So xylophone's kind of naturally where you moved into some of the keyboard
Well,
stuff.
I mean, it's too much like a piano for me
It's the
to
same
play.
layout.
Yeah.
It's like a piano keyboard, except you're hitting it with your sticks instead of your fingers.
I'm horrible now.
But he was great at all of that stuff. But he never played a drum set, and it's different, playing a snare drum and marching band and playing a trap set,
Yeah.
But I think he asked for a drum set or I think we bought him some electric drums or something.
Yeah,
Because I knew what I'd put my parents through. They had to build a whole addition to the house to put me in, for their sanity. So I got him
cheaper option.
I got him some electric drums with some headphones, and he just. So we never heard him, and I don't even remember the first time I heard him play something. I thought, man, he's good, and I didn't even teach him. He's just taught himself, I guess. I don't know. I don't ever remember sitting down and showing him some licks, but by the time he was a senior in high school, he was really good into drumming, kind of big into drumming. Had his hair all grown up, looked like a rock
really
star. Good. I don't know.
I remember that show. It was almost like a battle back and forth.
Yeah,
too.
so
You were at that one?
Yeah.
Nice.
so
I've been to a lot of those.
Yeah.
that was fun. I thought I need to do, because I knew he wasn't going to sing on Hello Texas. Rayanne sang, Garrett sang, Ben sang. I knew James ain't going to sing.
How was Garrett's voice? I don't remember Garrett singing too much. He had a good voice.
Yeah,
Garrett
sang
could
really
do
good.
anything he
Yeah,
wanted to do.
Yeah,
He was very
so
charismatic with it.
Yeah.
He would sing. He sang like big band stuff, and then he would sing like silly songs.
So
too.
Hello
crazy
Texas was
song.
right up his alley.
But
Yeah.
the main thing he did a Sinatra song. Had his little hat on, had his Sinatra
I
hat
can
on.
imagine that. Yeah.
Up there, he was a showman.
Excellent guitar player.
Yeah,
Yeah, he played guitar too.
But he did, those, they don't mind trying out. I thought James said he ain't gonna try it for Hello Texas, but I wish he would do something. I thought he's a great drummer, and so back when I was growing up, I used to idolize a guy named Buddy Rich, who was he was a great jazz drummer, billed himself as the world's greatest drummer, and probably is one of the top 3 or 4. He's incredible. YouTube Buddy Rich up. He was a sorry human being, but he was a great drummer. Used to be he'd play on the Tonight Show, and that was the only time I was allowed to stay and watch Tonight Show. That was like, you didn't watch the Tonight Show in our house. But if Buddy Rich or somebody like that, my dad would say, "Hey, Buddy Rich going to be on Tonight Show. I'll let you stay up and watch him." So I was just fascinated with drums. And back then they would do these drum battles. I remember Buddy Rich and the Tonight Show drummer, a guy named Ed Shaughnessy, they would do drum battles back and forth. They'd each take a solo and do stuff. And so I don't know. We heard this. There was a live recording of a Doobie Brothers song called "Long Train Running," where they do a live version of it. And Doobie Brothers always had 2 drummers. Mm-hmm. These days they don't, but all through their history they had 2 drummers.
They stopped having 2?
Well, they have a percussion guy.
Yeah.
But for most of their existence, they had 2 drum sets playing in sync with each other, which is hard to do, and a percussion guy. And so anyway, I had this recording I thought we can kind of do a drum battle and end with this, and so I tried to explain it to the other directors. I said, "Would you let us do this?" I said, "If you want us to try out on it," I said, "we'll work something." I said, "We ain't got it worked up." I said, "I got it in my mind." I
Now, are you still in high school at this point?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
a
I'm a
senior.
A senior? Okay.
And they said, "Man, I think that would be awesome." And so now, okay, now we got to work it up. So I asked James, "Yeah, we'll do that or something." I don't know. He was typical James.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Let's do it, man.
So we took our drum sets up to Etoile, Texas, one weekend.
Otherwise known as Etol.
Yeah.
Etoile.
Did
And
we take them up there? I don't
We
remember. going
did.
up
We
there.
set them up out there in the big open in that back.
I remember
room.
us doing that in the garage. I don't remember taking them.
We took them to Etoile. I said, we're going to spend the week. We're going to work up our drum battle. And we kind of worked it up there, and then we did some more stuff. And it didn't work out. Our drum battle part worked out great.
Yeah.
But when the band was supposed to come in, they didn't come in right. Or they sort of did.
They did just on the recording.
On the
it
recording
didn't
on
come out right.
on the DVD.
In person, it came out.
The sound
fine.
is horrible on it.
But so if you watch the DVD later,
But
it's like half the band's not in the recording, and it's weird.
I don't know if that's one of my proudest ever moment, but I was very proud. Proud of my
that was a
son.
good
And
moment.
I
Brought the
got-
house down,
got to-
standing ovation.
Got to do something with my son.
Everybody
on
was
that
rocking
show,
that one. Yeah.
and it was super fun.
That was funny because I had gotten a speeding ticket not too long before that, and then later that week I had to go to the courthouse, to the Deer Park, whatever, to pay it. And I go to the place, and it's my turn at the window, and the lady goes, "Hey, didn't I see you playing drums at the school the other night?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that was me." She's, "Oh, that was so great." Anyway, so you're gonna owe $200.
This is gonna get me out of it.
I was like, "Oh, is this about to?"
Say I didn't hear
That's
that
funny.
part of it.
Yeah, I know. It was funny.
That's good.
was getting recognized and didn't mean anything. Still had to pay my.
Right. So I know the older I get and the older my kids get, there's like things that I regret. Is there something that you regret that can help the people?
Well, yeah, I got lots of regrets, but
Help the people.
one thing that I wish I would have done, we had 4 kids. You know how this is. You got 5. Yours are spread out a little bit, but ours were a little more close together, I guess. They
Yeah,
were
we
all
have 3
young
close together and then 2 close together.
But and I don't regret working so many jobs because that allowed my wife to stay home with them, which we thought was important. And I don't ever regret that. But I do regret not spending more individual time. We would do stuff like if I got a Saturday off, we'd go have a dad adventure day or fun day or something. I don't know what we call it, but it was always all for me and all 4 of the kids. Sometimes Debbie would stay home and get a break, and we'd go to San Antonio or we'd go to I don't know where.
Go to the baseball game.
We'd go to the game, or we'd go to we went to Louisiana and toured the Tabasco factory one time. Or we'd go to Brenham and go to eat ice cream at but it was always all the kids. And I wish I'd have found time to just take one of the kids.
That's good.
Instead of just, not that I enjoy all of them,
Right.
but it's a different dynamic
Yeah.
when you just got one-on-one. And we did some of that, but I wish, now that they're grown, I wish I'd have done it more.
Yeah.
I guess it's not too late. We still could do, but even today, it's like, it's all of us,
Yeah.
and it's crazy when it's, when it's everybody.
Yeah.
So that would be one thing that I do regret, not spending more individual time.
I remember when
With
Luke
them.
came to me when I was youth pastor. I remember probably 2-3 years into youth pastoring, and at that point my career was taking off at the same time. So I'm spending a lot of time, spending 50 hours, 60 hours a week at work, and then another 20, 30 hours a week being youth pastor. And he was just a little fella, man. He's probably 6 or 7. He was just like, "Dad, you have time for work, and you have time for church, but you don't have you don't have time for me."
Yeah.
And man, it broke my heart, so that's something that really got me focused back. But
Yeah.
I bet I did what you do. I just get them all together and we go, because it's easier and it doesn't take as much time. But now that my kids are older, one of my kids works for me, so we get to spend a lot of time together. And then Adam and Victoria, they live right around the corner, so now we get, so it is different.
Well, I don't know anybody that's spent a lot of time with their kids that regrets, so I shouldn't have spent so much time with my kid. It's always the other way around.
Right.
And I didn't neglect them, but it was just, I was busy, like,
Yeah.
and it would kill me because my parents were always there at stuff I did, and you know, if they had a baseball game, I worked at the Chronicle every Saturday for 20 years. I mean, every Saturday, unless I was sick or it was a holiday or something, or we were on vacation maybe. And so when would their, you know, they played Little League and stuff, but before that they played like in the Y or something kind of, and they always, everything was on a Saturday.
Right.
And I'd break my neck, try to get there, and, you know, I get there, just finished 5 minutes. You know, and that would kill me, and I know that, you know, you want your dad there when you're playing sports, you know. So I should have probably not done so much of that. But
I got a chance. I got a unique opportunity because I was very, very the older kids. I was the dad. Like, you're not getting up until you eat all your macaroni and cheese. You know?
Oh, yeah, I did that.
I was that dad, and not just that, but just being that type of dad.
Yeah.
But now, being a father and I have 2 young ones, I get a second opportunity to look back and go, okay, I'm still going to be, you know, stiff on certain things, but certain things, it's not worth it, you know? And
exactly.
so I get the opportunity now to try to do better, you know?
Yeah.
So that's been kind of cool.
Yeah, because they're spaced out so far apart.
Right.
You basically raised some kids.
Yeah.
And then had some new ones
Right.
to, like,
So
start over with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I hear you on that, because you just kind of you start with your kids the way you remember.
Yeah.
You think, well, that's just all I don't know.
there ain't no manuals to this
No.
thing. You figure it out as you go, you know? And
I
then-
remember making Rayanne. She was so stubborn. I
Yeah,
think
she is.
It was some kind of.
Stop.
Now I can't even remember what it is. She doesn't like it to this day.
Papaya.
But I'm
Salmon.
salmon croquettes. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I'm like, you ain't even tried them. You're gonna sit there. I was in one of those moods. I said, you're gonna sit there, and she sat there till it's 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. And of course, you know, my wife's let her. She's got to go to bed. And I'm like, she ain't going to bed. She eats that broccoli or whatever it was, you know, and I don't, you know.
Now I get worms.
Yeah. She probably did.
So I'll tell you a quick story, and I might have told this on this here on the podcast before. So, raising the older ones when they were younger, then Sandra was going to school at night, so she would cook, and then she would leave it in the refrigerator. And when we get home, we would heat it up, and I would feed the boys, and she wouldn't get there until after they would, you know, go to bed. So I got the, you know, spaghetti out, and I fed to them, and then I got rid of that one. Then I got the other one out and fed myself. And so they were just like, there's something wrong with the spaghetti. It doesn't taste right. I'm like, I'm eating the spaghetti too. You eat your food. You're not going to bed. You know, and they're just like, oh, they're eating. They're going. And I'm just like, y'all not going to do me that way. I said, I'm eating the same spaghetti.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the spaghetti. Well, I didn't know there was an old one in there. And the new one, theirs was spoiled, and mine was the right one.
Oh, no.
So now Adam to this day will not eat spaghetti.
Oh, that's good.
And his wife loves it. So,
Did you have to take him to McDonald's afterwards or something?
oh, man. No, I mean, I didn't know until Sandra got home, right?
Yeah.
Sandra got home, and I was just shit. How come the boys
You won't
that-
believe what these kids been doing.
How come the boys that eat their food? Because finally I said, well, if you don't want to eat, just go to bed. You're not going to have no snacks or nothing, you know? And so Sandra goes home. She goes, well, how come the boys that eat? I said, I don't know why they're not eating. And she looked in the oven. She goes, David. I said, what? She goes, that was the spaghetti from last week.
It's got stuff growing on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't live that one down for a long time. Well, I still haven't lived it down from the kids, but from Sandra. You feed my babies. Well, Stacie, man, I appreciate you coming, and I know that we never know where these conversations are going to go, but the people wanted it. People got it.
Give the people
They're
what
going
they
to be a little
want.
disappointed now that they had such high expectations.
I don't know how long we've been
Y'all-
going.
We went for like now. Oh, we went 152.
It's a
Is
couple
that a
hours.
record?
I mean,
That's
that's
probably
up
a
there.
record, yeah.
That's up there.
No, Calvin's was a few
Yeah,
hours.
I think Calvin's was like 3 hours. We had to do a two-parter on his.
Partner, you go.
Yeah, but he had a special story, so.
You know.
Well, if y'all get hard up again one of these days, this was fairly painless. So I'm an old retired dude. Just catch me when I'm in town.
David was.
No.
He told me, he goes, "We got to get your dad on here one day." I said, "I mean, you can ask him. He won't want to do it, but if you ask him enough, he'll probably do it."
It's just talking. That's what people don't know. It's just a conversation and
The worst part is because I don't want to listen to this. I hate to hear
your own voice.
my voice. I don't listen to myself sing. I mean, sometimes you have to, like when I was, most humbling experience when your voice teacher sits there and makes you listen to a recording of yourself. And so this is what I'm talking about. And you go, oh, that's what I sound like.
I don't like to hear my own voice either, but I do listen. I go back and listen to what I preach, just to get better.
Yeah.
Just because
It'll make you better, but this part was the easy part. So if my wife pulls this up on a road trip or something, I'm going to say, turn it off. I don't want to hear that one.
So the next time we'll need both of them in here together.
Oh, look out!
Oh, that's gonna put the spice.
I need a button on here that goes dun dun dun.
I won't get many words in
because everybody has their own perspective, right? So you're
everybody
This is what'll happen. You'll bring up a story, and one of them will start telling it, and
That's
the other
not
one
how
will
it
start.
works.
Yeah, that'll be the whole episode.
I'll tell you my story.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming by over the years, Brother Stacie. You definitely inspired me in so many different ways, and I just want to let you know, man, how much I appreciate you. And
I appreciate you too. Appreciate y'all doing this.
Yeah,
we got to find a way to promote this more, not because I'm on here, but just y'all do as good a job as any podcast I hear anywhere. Y'all need
Hey, look at that.
I don't know how you get the word out there, get people.
Yeah, we need to do a better job.
Maybe I'll do that Sunday from the pulpit.
There you go.
I think that
shout outs or something.
Our agenda when we first started this, like there's podcasts, there's secular podcasts, and then there's Christian podcasts, but most of it's like, let's sit down and do a Bible study.
Yeah.
And that we didn't want to do that. We wanted something that Christians can have a little bit of fun, maybe cry, maybe laugh, hear a little bit about Jesus every once in a while, but just have a good time and have something that they can listen to and not be super, heavy and deep and stuff like that. So, and we're doing our best. We're doing our best. All right.
Here we go.
And we love you.
This is the Refuge Project.